Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Julia. Hey, Julia.
Hey, Jason. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited for today's topic because we're going to help you speak English faster and sound more natural.
Yes, if you've ever felt that you speak too slowly in English or that you sound unnatural, then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to share practical techniques to help you increase your speaking speed while staying clear and confident.
That's right. Many English learners worry that if they speak faster, they will make mistakes or sound unclear. But here's the good news: you don't need to be perfect to sound natural. We'll teach you how to balance speed and clarity so you don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
Exactly. And don't worry, we won't just talk about theory. We'll share fun exercises that you can practice right away to improve your speaking speed.
Plus, we'll talk about common mistakes people make when trying to speak faster and how to fix them. So stay with us until the end because this episode will be full of useful tips.
All right, let's get started with our first topic, why speaking faster matters and how it can help you sound more like a native speaker. All right, let's start with an important question. Why does speaking faster matter when learning English? Some people might think speaking slowly is better because it gives them time to think. What do you think, Julia?
That's a great question, Jason. Speaking slowly is fine when you're just starting to learn a language, but if you want to sound more natural and confident, you need to train yourself to speak at a normal speed, just like native speakers do.
Exactly. Think about when you listen to native English speakers. They don't speak word by word like this. I am going to the store. Instead, they speak smoothly. Like this, I'm going to the store.
Right. And if you speak too slowly, it can make conversations feel awkward. Native speakers might interrupt you because they think you're finished speaking, or they might lose patience waiting for your sentence.
That's true. But speaking faster doesn't mean rushing or mumbling. It means learning how to group words together naturally and think in English instead of translating from your native language.
Yes. And there's a big difference between speaking quickly and speaking unclearly. If you rush your words and nobody understands you, that's not helpful. But if you train yourself to speed up gradually while keeping your pronunciation clear, that's where fluency happens.
Great point. And one more thing, when you speak faster, it actually helps you feel more confident. If you hesitate too much, you might start doubting yourself or getting nervous in conversations.
Absolutely. Plus, many English tests, job interviews, and everyday conversations expect you to respond quickly. If you can express yourself at a natural pace, you'll sound more fluent and professional.
That's why in the next section, we're going to talk about a common problem learners face when trying to speak faster, the mistakes that make them sound unnatural, and how to fix them. All right? Now that we know why speaking faster is important, let's talk about something that often happens when learners try to speed up their English common mistakes that make them sound unnatural.
Yes. Many learners try to speak faster, but instead of sounding fluent, they end up mumbling, mispronouncing words, or getting stuck mid-sentence. Jason, what's one of the biggest mistakes you've noticed?
One of the most common problems is losing clarity. When people try to speak fast, they sometimes squish words together too much, making it hard to understand. For example, instead of saying, "Did you eat?" they might say something like, "G8?"
That's a great example. And while native speakers might say things quickly, they still pronounce words in a way that's clear enough to understand. If you rush too much and don't practice, your words can become unclear, and people might not understand you.
Exactly. Another mistake is thinking too much while speaking. Some learners try to translate sentences from their native language in their head before speaking. This makes them pause too much, which slows them down and makes them less confident.
Yes, that's why it's important to train your brain to think in English, so your words come out naturally instead of getting stuck.
Another common mistake is not using the right intonation and rhythm. Some learners think speaking faster means just rushing through words, but in English, we use stress and intonation to sound natural.
Great point. If you don't use the right rhythm, you might sound robotic or unnatural. English has a natural up and down flow, and if you ignore that, your speech can sound flat and strange.
And finally, a big mistake is getting nervous and stopping halfway through sentences. Some learners start speaking faster, but then panic and stop because they're afraid of making a mistake. This actually makes them sound less confident.
That's why it's important to keep going, even if you make mistakes. Remember, fluency is about communication, not perfection.
Exactly. Now that we know the common problems, let's move on to the fun part: how to improve your speaking speed while staying clear and natural. Stay with us. Now that we've talked about the common mistakes, let's focus on how to actually improve your speaking speed without losing clarity. We're going to share some effective techniques that will help you speak faster and sound natural at the same time.
Yes, the key is not just to speak fast, but to speak smoothly. The first technique is called chunking. Jason, can you explain what that means?
Of course. Chunking is when you group words together instead of saying each word separately. Native speakers don't say, "I am going to the store." Instead, they group words naturally and say, "I'm going to the store."
Exactly. If you practice chunking, your speech will sound more natural and you'll automatically speed up without feeling rushed.
A great way to practice this is by reading sentences out loud and marking natural pauses. For example, this morning, I went to the market to buy some vegetables. You don't pause after every word, just at the natural breaks.
That's a great tip. Now, another powerful technique is called shadowing. This is when you listen to a native speaker and repeat what they say in real time.
Yes, shadowing helps you train your mouth to move faster, and it also improves your pronunciation and rhythm. Julia, how can someone practice this?
Find a short clip of a native speaker, maybe from a podcast, a movie, or a YouTube video. Listen to a sentence and try to repeat it immediately, matching the speed and tone. At first, it might feel difficult, but over time, you'll notice your speech becoming faster and more natural.
That's a fantastic exercise. Another important thing is intonation and rhythm. English is not a monotone language. It has a natural rise and fall. If you ignore intonation and only focus on speed, you'll sound robotic.
Yes, you can practice by listening to how native speakers emphasize certain words. For example, in the sentence, "I didn't say she stole the money," if you emphasize "I," it means someone else said it. But if you emphasize "stole," it means she took the money, but maybe not in a bad way.
That's a great way to improve both speed and expression. Now, another simple but effective method is reading out loud every day.
Yes, if you practice reading out loud for just 5 minutes a day, your mouth will get used to forming English words more quickly, and your brain will process the language faster.
And to take it a step further, try timed speaking exercises. Set a timer for 1 minute and talk about a topic without stopping. Then, do it again, and try to say the same thing a little bit faster.
That's such a fun exercise. And finally, remember, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Speaking faster comes with practice, and the more you do it, the more confident you'll become.
That's right. Now that we've covered these techniques, let's talk about something really important: how to train your brain to process English faster so speaking naturally becomes automatic. Now that we've covered techniques for speaking faster, let's talk about an important part of fluency training your brain to process English faster. Because if your brain processes English slowly, your speech will also be slow, right?
Exactly. Many English learners struggle not because they don't know the words, but because their brain takes too long to find the right words when speaking. But don't worry, there are some simple ways to speed up your thinking in English.
Yes! The first technique is thinking in English. A lot of learners translate from their native language before speaking, which slows them down. Julia, what's a good way to stop translating?
A great way is to narrate your daily life in English. For example, when you wake up, try to describe what you're doing in English in your mind. I'm brushing my teeth, now I'm making coffee. I need to leave for work soon.
That's a great idea. If you practice this daily, your brain will get used to processing English without needing to translate.
Another way to train your brain is rapid vocabulary recall exercises. This means challenging yourself to quickly think of words without hesitation. Jason, can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you choose a category like fruits. Try to name as many as you can in 30 seconds. Apple, banana, orange, grapes, watermelon. This kind of speed practice helps your brain retrieve words faster in real conversations.
That's a great exercise. Another fun technique is playing word association games. Pick a word and quickly say another related word. For example, if I say ocean, you might say waves.
Oh, I love that game. It forces your brain to make quick connections, which helps you think faster in English conversations.
Yes, and another powerful method is listening to fast English regularly. If you only listen to slow English, your brain won't get used to processing real, fast speech.
That's so true. You can listen to podcasts, movies, or news reports in English, even if you don't understand everything. Over time, your brain will adjust to the speed and process words more quickly.
And one last tip: practice speaking without overthinking. Sometimes learners pause too much because they're afraid of making mistakes. But guess what? It's okay to make mistakes. The more you practice speaking naturally, the faster your brain will respond.
That's right. So let's quickly recap. Think in English, not your native language. Do rapid vocabulary recall exercises. Play word association games. Listen to fast English regularly. Practice speaking without overthinking.
If you train your brain with these techniques, you'll not only speak faster but also feel more confident in English conversations.
Now, let's move on to something just as important: how to stay confident when speaking fast, even if you make mistakes. Now that we've learned how to train our brains to process English faster, let's talk about something fun practice exercises that will help you speak faster in a natural way.
Yes, learning should be fun and engaging. If you enjoy the process, you'll improve much faster. So let's share some great exercises. Jason, what's the first one? First, speed talking challenge.
All right, here's a fun challenge. Set a timer for 1 minute and talk about any topic as fast as you can without stopping.
Oh, I love this one. You can describe your morning routine, your favorite food, or even what happened in your day. The key is to keep talking even if you make mistakes.
Exactly. And if you want to make it harder, record yourself and try to say the same thing even faster the second time. Second tongue twisters.
Here's another fun one: tongue twisters. These help you improve pronunciation, clarity, and speed at the same time.
Yes, let's try one right now. Repeat after me. She sells seashells by the seashore.
That one's tricky. Here's another: Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
If you can say these quickly and clearly, your speaking speed and pronunciation will improve naturally. Third, storytelling with a twist.
This one is so much fun. Choose a random story, maybe a fairy tale or a movie plot, and try to tell it in 30 seconds.
Yes. For example, if you choose Cinderella, you might say a girl has a mean stepmother, meets a prince, loses her shoe, and then they find each other and live happily ever after.
This forces you to speak quickly, focus on key details, and avoid overthinking. Fourth, role-playing conversations.
Another great exercise is role-playing conversations. Find a friend, or even practice alone, and act out real-life situations like ordering food, making small talk, or introducing yourself.
Yes, you can even pretend to be two people and switch roles. For example, hello, I'd like to order a coffee, please. Sure. Would you like sugar with that? Yes, please. Thank you.
This helps you think fast and respond naturally, just like in a real conversation. 5. Shadowing with a fun twist.
We talked about shadowing earlier, but here's a fun twist. Imitate actors or YouTubers. Find a scene from your favorite movie or TV show and copy how they speak. Speed, tone, and emotion.
That's such a fun way to practice. Try mimicking actors in movies like Harry Potter or Friends. This will help you develop natural rhythm and speed. Final thoughts.
All of these exercises are fun, easy, and super effective. The more you practice, the more natural speaking fast will feel.
Yes, so challenge yourself. Pick one of these exercises today and try it.
Now let's talk about something important: how to stay confident when speaking fast, even if you make mistakes.
Wow! We've covered a lot today. Why speaking faster matters, common problems, techniques, brain training, fun exercises. And now, it's time for some final tips and motivation.
Yes. If you've been listening, you already have everything you need to start speaking English faster and more naturally. But remember, the key to success is consistent.
Here are 3 final tips to keep in mind. Tip 1. Progress over perfection. Don't stress about making mistakes. The goal is fluency, not perfection. Even native speakers make mistakes. Tip 2. Speak every day. Even 5 to 10 minutes of speaking practice daily will make a huge difference. Whether it's talking to yourself, shadowing, or having conversations, just keep speaking. Tip 3. Have fun. Learning should be enjoyable. Use games, music, movies, and topics you love. The more fun you have, the faster you'll improve. Motivation to keep going.
Learning to speak faster and sound natural takes time, but remember, every step forward is progress.
Yes, and you are already improving just by listening to this podcast and learning new techniques. Keep going, and soon you'll notice big improvements in your fluency and confidence.
So, challenge yourself. Try one technique today and keep practicing. You've got this.
Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and keep practicing with us.
We'll see you next time. Happy learning.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the English Learning Podcast, where we help you improve your English speaking skills with fun and useful conversations. I'm your host, Jason, and joining me today is my wonderful co-host, Julia. How are you today, Julia?
Hi, Jason. I'm doing great, and I'm super excited for today's topic because it's something that holds many English learners back, and I'm sure our listeners will find it really helpful.
Absolutely. So, today's episode is titled Talk First, Think Later. Now, this might sound a little strange at first. After all, we're always told to think before we speak, right? But when it comes to learning English, overthinking can actually slow you down and make you less confident.
Exactly. Many learners hesitate because they worry about making mistakes, finding the perfect words, or sounding fluent. But guess what? The best way to sound fluent is to start speaking without fear, even if you make mistakes.
That's right. In this episode, we'll talk about why hesitation is your biggest enemy, why it's okay to make mistakes, and how you can train yourself to speak more freely and naturally in English.
And of course, we'll also share some practical strategies that you can use to speak with confidence, whether you're talking to a friend, in a meeting, or even practicing alone.
So, stick with us for the next 28 minutes. And by the end of this episode, you'll feel more ready than ever to talk first and think later. Let's get started. All right, so let's start with a big problem that almost every English learner faces: the fear of making mistakes. Julia, have you ever met someone who knows a lot of English but is too afraid to speak?
Oh, all the time. I once had a friend who studied English for years. She understood grammar, had a great vocabulary, and even listened to English podcasts daily. But when it was time to speak, she would just freeze.
That's such a common issue. And it's usually because people overthink before they speak. They're worried about sounding wrong, making grammar mistakes, or not finding the perfect words.
Exactly. But here's the thing, native speakers make mistakes too. Have you ever noticed how even fluent English speakers say or while thinking? They sometimes forget words, repeat themselves, or correct themselves mid-sentence, and that's completely normal.
That's a great point. Think about young children learning their first language. Do they stop speaking because they're afraid of mistakes?
No way, they just talk. Even if they mix words or say things incorrectly, they keep going, and that's how they get better. But adults, we judge ourselves too much.
Right. And that fear of judgment makes learners hesitate. They wait until they have the perfect sentence in their mind, but by the time they're ready, the conversation has already moved on.
Yes, and here's the truth. Most people don't care if you make mistakes. What they care about is understanding you. Even if your grammar isn't perfect, if you can communicate your message, you're succeeding.
That's so important to remember. Making mistakes is part of learning. The more mistakes you make, the faster you improve.
Absolutely. So if you're listening to this and you've been holding yourself back because of fear, here's our advice: stop worrying so much about mistakes and just start speaking. The goal is progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And up next, we're going to talk about why talking first helps, and how speaking more, even when you're not 100% sure, can actually make you a better English speaker.
Yes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
All right, so now that we've talked about the fear of making mistakes, let's discuss why talking first, without overthinking, actually helps you learn faster. Julia, have you ever noticed that people who just start speaking, even if they make mistakes, improve much faster than those who hesitate?
Oh, 100%. I've seen so many learners who just go for it. They don't worry too much about being perfect, and guess what? Their fluency grows much faster.
Exactly. And there's a scientific reason behind this. When you overthink before speaking, you're trying to translate every word in your head. That slows you down. But when you just speak, your brain starts learning how to think in English naturally.
Yes, and this is how we learn our first language as kids. We don't plan every sentence before we speak. We just say what comes to mind, and over time, we improve.
That's a great comparison. And another thing, fluency isn't about perfect grammar. It's about speed and confidence. The more you practice speaking freely, the easier it gets to form sentences quickly without hesitation.
Exactly. Think about it like playing a sport. If you're learning basketball, do you wait until you have the perfect shot every time?
Of course not. You just start shooting. And with practice, your accuracy gets better. Speaking English is the same. You don't need to get every sentence right. You just need to keep talking. And over time, your brain will adjust.
Yes, and here's the best part. When you talk first, your mistakes become learning moments. Instead of staying silent, you get feedback, and you naturally correct yourself.
Right. The more you speak, the more you hear yourself, and the faster you recognize what sounds natural and what doesn't.
That's so true. So, for our listeners, if you want to speak English fluently, don't wait for the perfect moment. Just start speaking. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Exactly. And up next, we're going to share some practical strategies to help you train yourself to speak first and think later. So stay with us.
You won't want to miss this next part.
Welcome back. So, now that we know why talking first helps, let's get into some practical strategies that can help you train yourself to speak without hesitation. Julia, what's the first tip you would give to our listeners?
Great question. My first tip is think in English. Many learners try to translate from their native language before they speak, and that slows them down. Instead, try to describe things around you in English, just in your head. For example, if you see a tree, instead of thinking the word in your native language and then translating, just say, "That's a big tree with green leaves."
That's a great tip. And you don't even need a conversation partner for this. You can practice anywhere, on a walk, at home, or while waiting for the bus.
Exactly. And that brings me to the second tip, use simple words. Many learners hesitate because they're searching for the perfect advanced word. But fluency isn't about using fancy words. It's about communicating your idea clearly.
Yes. Instead of stopping to think of a complicated word, use a simpler way to say the same thing. For example, if you don't know the word exhausted, you can just say very tired. The goal is to keep speaking.
That's right. And here's another tip. Use filler words and phrases. Even native speakers do this. If you need a moment to think, use words like, "well, you know," or "let me think," instead of staying silent.
Oh, that's a great one. Filler words make your speech sound more natural, and they give you time to organize your thoughts without stopping the conversation.
Yes. And now, my favorite tip, practice speaking out loud even when you're alone. Many people only practice in their heads, but speaking out loud helps train your mouth and brain to work together.
I love that. You can talk to yourself in the mirror, narrate what you're doing, or even pretend you're explaining something to a friend. The more you do it, the easier speaking will become.
Exactly. And one last strategy, record yourself. Many learners don't realize what they sound like until they listen to themselves. When you record your speech, you can notice your weak points and improve them.
Yes, and don't be too hard on yourself. Just focus on improving little by little. Every time you speak, you're getting better.
Absolutely. So, to summarize Think in English, use simple words, add fillers, practice out loud, and record yourself. These strategies will help you speak first and think later, without fear.
And up next, we'll talk about how to stay confident and keep going even when you feel stuck. So, don't go anywhere.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk about something really important: mental barriers that stop people from speaking freely. Julia, what do you think is the biggest mental block for English learners?
Oh, I'd say it's self-doubt. Many learners think, "My English isn't good enough," or people will laugh at me if I make a mistake. But the truth is, nobody is judging you as much as you think.
That's so true. Most people are just happy that you're trying to communicate. In fact, native speakers respect people who try to speak their language.
Exactly. And another big mental barrier is fear of embarrassment. People worry that they'll say something wrong and look foolish. But honestly, have you ever laughed at someone just because they made a mistake in another language?
Never. I always admire people who try to speak a second language. And here's the thing, mistakes are how you learn. Every mistake helps you get better.
Yes, and another mental barrier is perfectionism. Some learners won't speak unless they're 100% sure their sentence is correct, but that slows them down.
Right. Fluency comes from practice, not perfection. If you wait for the perfect sentence, you'll never speak. Instead, focus on getting your idea across, even if it's not perfect.
Exactly. So how do we break these mental barriers? The first step is changing your mindset. Instead of thinking, I might say something wrong, think, every time I speak, I improve.
I love that. And another tip, set small speaking goals. Instead of saying, I want to be fluent, say, today, I will speak for 5 minutes without stopping. Small wins build confidence.
Yes. And lastly, surround yourself with positive people. If you're around supportive friends, teachers, or language partners, you'll feel more comfortable taking risks in speaking.
That's a great point. So remember, stop worrying about mistakes, focus on progress, and practice every day. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
Absolutely. And up next, we'll talk about some fun and creative ways to practice speaking daily, so don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right, we've covered a lot today: why talking first helps, how to overcome fear, and some great strategies to practice. But now, let's put it all together into a simple action plan that our listeners can start using right away.
Yes, because learning is great, but taking action is what really makes a difference. So let's break it down into 3 simple steps.
Step 1. Start speaking every day, even for just a few minutes. You can talk to yourself, describe what you see, or even record your voice. The key is to speak out loud. Don't just think in English.
Great! Step 2. Join conversations whenever possible. If you have a chance to speak English with friends, in an online group, or even with strangers, take it. Don't wait for the perfect moment, just jump in.
Exactly. And step 3, track your progress. At the end of the day, ask yourself, did I speak in English today? What did I learn? Even small improvements matter.
I love that. And a bonus tip, be kind to yourself. Learning a language takes time. The most important thing is to keep going and enjoy the process.
Yes. So, to all our listeners, your challenge today is to speak English for at least 5 minutes, no matter what. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start talking.
And remember, the more you speak, the more confident you'll become. So talk first, think later, and keep practicing.
That's a great way to end today's episode. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now, and happy speaking.
Wow! What a great conversation today. We've covered so much, from overcoming the fear of mistakes to practical strategies for speaking first and thinking later.
Yes, and remember, fluency doesn't come from waiting until you're perfect. It comes from taking action and practicing every day.
Exactly. So, if there's one thing you take away from this episode, it's this: just start talking. Every time you speak, you're getting better.
That's right. And if you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with a friend who's also learning English.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye for now and keep speaking.
Hello, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host, and as always, I'm joined by my fantastic co-host, Julia. Julia, how are you today?
I'm great, Jason. Super excited for today's topic because I know it's going to help a lot of English learners improve their speaking skills. And hello to all our listeners. Get ready for an exciting and practical episode.
That's right. Today, we're talking about something that many English learners struggle with: how to talk fast and think faster. If you've ever felt stuck searching for the right words in a conversation, or if you've been told that you speak too slowly, don't worry. You're not alone.
Exactly. Speaking fast and thinking quickly in English is a skill that takes practice, but once you master it, your conversations will feel more natural, confident, and engaging.
In this episode, we'll explore why fast thinking is important, the challenges English learners face, and most importantly, techniques to help you train your brain to think and speak faster. By the end, you'll have actionable tips that you can start using right away.
And don't worry if you think, but what if I make mistakes? We'll also cover how to speak quickly without losing clarity and how to gain confidence while speaking. So if you're ready to boost your English fluency, stay with us.
Let's dive right in. First, let's talk about why speaking fast and thinking fast actually matter in real conversations. So, before we jump into the techniques, let's first talk about why speaking fast and thinking fast actually matter. Julia, have you ever been in a situation where you had to respond quickly in a conversation?
Oh, absolutely. I remember when I first started learning a new language, I would always pause a lot trying to translate in my head. It made conversations feel slow and unnatural. But once I trained myself to think in the language, my responses became quicker, and I felt more confident.
That's a great point. And for many English learners, one of the biggest struggles is that they take too long to find the right words. This can make conversations feel frustrating, both for them and for the person they're talking to.
Exactly. When you speak too slowly, sometimes people might interrupt or lose patience. But when you think fast and respond smoothly, you keep the conversation flowing naturally.
And speaking quickly isn't just about speed, it's about fluency. Have you noticed that native speakers often talk fast, especially in casual conversations?
Oh, yes. Native speakers rarely speak word by word. They use contractions, connected speech, and natural rhythms. If learners can train their brain to process English faster, they'll be able to follow conversations more easily and sound more natural.
Right. Let's look at some situations where thinking and speaking quickly can be really useful.
Okay. First, imagine you're in a job interview. If you take too long to answer a question, it might seem like you're unsure or unprepared. But if you can quickly structure your thoughts and respond smoothly, you'll sound more professional and confident.
That's a great example. Another one is meeting new people. When you're introducing yourself or making small talk, a natural flow is important. If you pause too much, the conversation can feel awkward. But if you can keep up, it becomes easier to connect with others.
And let's not forget about debates and discussions. If you're in a classroom, a meeting, or even a friendly argument, quick thinking helps you express your ideas clearly and convincingly.
So, the bottom line is, fast thinking leads to fluent speaking, and fluent speaking leads to better communication. But here's the challenge. Many English learners struggle with this. Why? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss next. All right. Now that we understand why talking fast and thinking faster are important, let's talk about something every English learner faces: challenges. Julia, what do you think is one of the biggest reasons learners struggle to speak fast?
Oh, there are quite a few, but one of the biggest reasons is thinking in their native language first. Many learners translate in their heads before speaking, and that slows everything down.
Exactly. When you translate word by word, it takes time. And by the time you form your sentence, the conversation might have already moved on.
Yes, instead, learners need to train their brain to think directly in English. We'll talk about how to do that in a bit, but let's first look at some other challenges. Jason, what's another big issue?
I'd say fear of making mistakes. A lot of learners hesitate because they're afraid of saying something wrong. They stop to correct themselves, and that makes them speak even more slowly.
Oh, that's a big one. But the truth is, mistakes are a natural part of learning. If you try to speak perfectly all the time, you'll always pause, and that actually makes you sound less confident.
Right. Confidence is key. I always tell my students, it's better to speak quickly with small mistakes than to pause too much and lose the flow of conversation.
Absolutely. And speaking of pauses, another challenge is limited vocabulary. When learners don't know enough words, they stop mid-sentence to search for the right one. That's when we hear a lot of,
That's true. And you know what makes this even harder? Not knowing enough filler phrases to keep talking. Native speakers use fillers like, well, you know, the thing is, or I mean to keep the conversation flowing while thinking of what to say next.
Yes, those little expressions buy you time so you don't feel stuck in silence. And here's another challenge: not enough listening practice. If you don't listen to English often, your brain isn't used to processing it quickly.
That's a great point. Listening is directly connected to speaking speed. The more you hear fast English, the better your brain gets at understanding and responding quickly.
Exactly. So, let's sum it up. Translating from the native language, fear of mistakes, limited vocabulary, lack of filler phrases, and not enough listening practice, these are some of the biggest obstacles that slow learners down.
And the good news is, all of these can be improved with the right techniques. Up next, we're going to share some powerful strategies to help you think faster in English. Stay with us. All right. Now that we've talked about the common challenges English learners face, it's time for the exciting part: how to actually train your brain to think faster in English. Julia, where should we start?
Let's start with one of the most powerful techniques: thinking in English. If you're always translating from your native language, it will slow you down. Instead, you need to start training your brain to form thoughts directly in English.
Yes, and an easy way to do this is to describe what you see around you in English. For example, if you're walking outside, say to yourself, "The weather is nice today. The sky is blue. I see a dog running." This builds a habit of forming sentences quickly without translating.
That's a great tip. Another one is speed speaking exercises. Set a timer for 60 seconds and try to talk about a simple topic without stopping. It could be about your day, your hobbies, or your favorite food. The goal is not to be perfect, but to keep talking.
I love that. And if you're struggling with words, use filler phrases to keep going. Say things like, "Well, let me think," or "What I mean is," instead of pausing in silence.
Yes, that's what native speakers do all the time. Another great technique is shadowing. This means listening to native English audio and trying to repeat it at the same speed without pausing.
Oh, shadowing is one of my favorites. It forces you to process English quickly and helps with pronunciation too. You can do this with podcasts, YouTube videos, or even movies.
Exactly. And speaking of movies, another fun technique is role-playing. Pretend you're in a real-life situation, like ordering food in a restaurant or introducing yourself at a meeting. Imagine the conversation and practice responding quickly.
I love that. You can even record yourself and listen back to see where you can improve. And here's another trick. Use word association games. This trains your brain to connect words quickly.
That's a fun one. Like if I say coffee, you quickly respond with morning, then I say breakfast, and you say eggs. It helps build mental connections fast.
Exactly. And don't forget, reading out loud is a great way to speed up your thinking. When you read aloud, your brain gets used to forming sentences faster.
Yes. So to recap, think in English. Practice speed speaking, use fillers, try shadowing, do role-playing, record yourself, play word games, and read aloud. These techniques will help you process English faster and speak more fluently.
And now, let's talk about the final step. How to stay confident while speaking fast. Stay tuned. Now that we've talked about how to think faster in English, let's move on to the next step. How to actually train yourself to speak faster. Julia, where should we start?
Well, the first and most important thing is practicing with a timer. Set a timer for 30 seconds or 1 minute, pick a simple topic, and try to speak non-stop until the timer runs out.
That's a great one. And if you get stuck, don't stop. Just use filler phrases like you know or what I'm trying to say is to keep the flow going.
Yes. Another technique is speed reading out loud. Find a short paragraph and try to read it faster and faster each time. This trains your mouth and brain to coordinate better.
That's a solid tip. I also love tongue twisters. Saying things like, she sells seashells by the seashore, helps train your pronunciation and speaking speed.
Oh yes, tongue twisters force you to speak faster while keeping your words clear. And speaking of clarity, another exercise is mimicking native speakers.
Right. Listen to native speakers in podcasts or videos and copy their rhythm and speed. Try to match their speed as closely as possible.
Exactly. And here's a powerful trick: chunking sentences. Instead of thinking about one word at a time, practice speaking in groups of words. For example, instead of saying, I am going to the store, say, I'm going to the store as one smooth phrase.
Oh, that's a game changer. Another thing that helps is reducing hesitation. If you notice yourself pausing too much, record yourself speaking and listen back to spot where you slow down.
Yes, and don't forget, daily conversation practice is key. Talk to a friend, join a speaking group, or even just talk to yourself in the mirror. The more you speak, the faster you get.
Absolutely. So to recap, use a timer, speed read, practice tongue twisters, mimic native speakers, chunk sentences, reduce hesitation, and practice daily conversations. These methods will help you speak faster and more naturally.
And now, for the final part, how to stay confident while speaking fast. Stay with us.
We've talked about how to think faster and how to train yourself to speak faster, but there's one big challenge left: fear. Many English learners worry that if they speak too fast, they'll make mistakes. Julia, why do you think this happens?
Great question, Jason. Fear comes from a few things: the fear of making mistakes, the fear of not being understood, and the fear of sounding unnatural. But the truth is, these fears hold you back from improving.
Exactly. So, the first way to overcome this fear is to accept that mistakes are normal. Even native speakers mess up when they talk fast, but they just keep going.
Yes, instead of stopping when you make a mistake, just correct yourself naturally and move on. For example, if you say, I went to the store, that's totally fine. It happens to everyone.
That's a great point. Another trick is starting slow and increasing speed gradually. If you feel nervous, begin at a comfortable pace, and then challenge yourself to go a little faster each time.
I love that. And here's another big one. Practice speaking under pressure. Try recording yourself speaking quickly for 30 seconds, or even challenge yourself to answer questions in real time without overthinking.
Oh yes, spontaneous speaking builds confidence. And don't forget, focus on clarity, not just speed. It's okay to be fast, but your words should still be clear.
Absolutely. And finally, remember that confidence comes from practice. The more you train yourself to speak fast, the more natural and fearless you'll become.
Exactly. So, to summarize, accept mistakes, correct yourself naturally, start slow, practice under pressure, focus on clarity, and keep practicing. These steps will help you overcome the fear of speaking fast.
And now, let's wrap up everything we've learned today in our final thoughts.
We've talked about so many great techniques today, but now it's time for action. If you want to think faster, speak faster, and feel more confident, you need to practice consistently. So, Julia, what exercises can our listeners try right now?
Great question, Jason. Let's start with an easy one, the 60-second speed talk. Choose a simple topic like my favorite food or what I did today, set a timer for 60 seconds, and speak non-stop without worrying about mistakes.
Oh, that's a fun one. And if you get stuck, just use filler words like, let me think, or, well, to keep going. The goal is to train your brain to keep talking.
Exactly. Another powerful exercise is shadowing. Pick an English podcast or YouTube video, play a short sentence, and repeat it immediately, trying to match the speed and pronunciation.
Oh, I love shadowing. It forces you to think and speak quickly like a native speaker. And here's another challenge: fast reading aloud. Take a short paragraph and try reading it faster each time while keeping your words clear.
Great one. And don't forget about tongue twisters. Try saying Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers 5 times in a row without slowing down.
Haha, that's a tough one, but it really helps with pronunciation and speed. Here's one last challenge. Record yourself speaking for 1 to 2 minutes, then listen back. See where you hesitate and try again to improve.
Yes, listening to yourself helps you spot areas to improve. So let's recap speed talk for 60 seconds. Shadowing, fast reading, tongue twisters, and recording yourself. Do these daily and you'll see huge progress.
Exactly. Now, let's wrap things up with our final thoughts and a challenge for our listeners. Wow, what a great session today. We've covered so much. Why thinking and speaking fast matter, common challenges, powerful techniques, and even practice exercises to help you improve.
Yes, and remember, speaking fast isn't just about speed. It's about confidence, clarity, and training your brain to think in English naturally. The more you practice, the easier it gets.
Absolutely. And here's our challenge for you. Pick one of today's exercises and practice it for just 5 minutes today. Whether it's the 60-second speed talk, shadowing, or tongue twisters, take action and start improving.
And if you found this episode helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Also, leave a comment telling us which exercise you're going to try first.
Yes, keep practicing, stay confident, and remember, the more you speak, the better you get. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, and joining me today is my amazing co-host, Julia. How are you today, Julia?
I'm doing great, Jason. Hello to all our listeners. I hope you're all excited because today we're discussing a very important topic, how to speak English without pausing too much.
That's right. Many English learners struggle with hesitation when speaking. They pause a lot, trying to find the right words, or they get stuck because they're thinking in their native language first. And that makes their speech sound less natural.
Exactly. Speaking smoothly and naturally is a big goal for many learners. But don't worry, in this episode, we'll share practical tips and exercises to help you reduce pauses and speak more fluently.
So, if you've ever felt frustrated because your words don't come out fast enough, or you keep stopping while talking, stay with us. By the end of this episode, you'll have some powerful strategies to think faster, speak smoothly, and sound more confident in English.
Sounds exciting. Let's get started.
All right, Julia. Before we talk about how to fix this problem, let's first understand why people pause so much when speaking English. What do you think are some common reasons?
Great question, Jason. There are several reasons why English learners pause a lot while speaking. The first big reason is lack of confidence. When people are unsure of their English skills, they hesitate because they're afraid of making mistakes.
Yes, and that fear slows them down. Instead of just speaking naturally, they keep second-guessing themselves. It's like their brain is saying, "Wait, is this the right word? Am I making a mistake?" And by the time they decide, the conversation has already moved forward.
Exactly. Another reason is vocabulary gaps. Sometimes learners don't know the exact word they need, so they stop and try to find it. This makes their speech sound unnatural and broken.
That's a big one. When your vocabulary is limited, your brain has to work extra hard to find words, and that creates more pauses. This is why expanding your vocabulary is so important. We'll share tips on that soon.
And let's not forget about overthinking. A lot of learners try to translate sentences from their native language into English while speaking. But English and other languages have different structures, so this slows them down and creates long pauses.
Yes, overthinking is a major fluency killer. Instead of speaking naturally, learners are stuck in their heads trying to get every sentence perfect. But guess what? Fluency is not about perfection. It's about flow.
That's such a good point. And finally, some pauses happen because of nervousness and pressure. When people feel nervous, especially in conversations with native speakers, they freeze and forget even the words they do know.
Oh, I see this all the time. When people feel pressured, their brains don't work as fast. That's why confidence-building exercises are so important. And don't worry, we'll share some of those today.
So, to summarize, the 4 biggest reasons people pause while speaking English are 1. Lack of confidence, 2. Vocabulary gaps, 3. Overthinking and translating, 4. Nervousness under pressure.
Exactly. And now that we understand the problem, it's time to fix it. Let's move on to the most exciting part: techniques to reduce pauses and speak fluently. Ready? Now that we know why people pause when speaking, let's talk about how to fix it. Julia, what's the first technique to reduce pauses?
One of the best techniques is thinking in English instead of translating. Many learners translate sentences in their heads before speaking, and that slows them down. Instead, they should try to think directly in English.
That's a game changer. If you always translate from your native language, your brain has to do double the work. First forming the sentence in your language, then changing it to English. That takes time and creates pauses.
Exactly. A great way to practice thinking in English is to describe what you see around you in simple English. For example, if you're walking outside, you can think the sun is shining. The weather is warm. I see a dog running. This trains your brain to process thoughts in English naturally.
I love that. Another useful technique is using filler words. Now, I know some people think fillers are bad, but native speakers use them all the time to keep the conversation flowing.
That's true. Filler words like, well, actually, give your brain a second to think without creating an awkward silence. Instead of pausing completely, you can say, well, I think it's a good idea, or, I really like that movie.
That's a great point. Here's another powerful technique: shadowing. Have you heard of this, Julia?
Of course. Shadowing means listening to a native speaker and repeating what they say immediately, like an echo. It forces you to speak quickly and smoothly without pausing.
Yes, you can do this with English podcasts, YouTube videos, or audiobooks. Just play a sentence, pause, and repeat it exactly the same way. Over time, your brain will get used to speaking without hesitation.
That's such a good exercise. And here's one more tip. Don't aim for perfection. Many learners pause because they're afraid of making mistakes. But in real conversations, mistakes are okay.
Absolutely. The goal is to communicate, not to be perfect. If you can't remember a word, try explaining it in a different way instead of stopping completely. For example, if you forget the word refrigerator, you can say the machine that keeps food cold.
That's a great strategy. So, to recap, here are 4 techniques to reduce pauses. 1. Think in English, not your native language. 2. Use filler words to keep the flow. Practice shadowing with native speakers. 4. Don't aim for perfection. Keep talking even if you make mistakes.
Awesome tips. Now, let's go even deeper. Coming up next, we'll share how to train your brain for faster speech. Stay with us. All right, now that we know some techniques to reduce pauses, let's talk about how to train your brain to think and respond faster in English. Julia, what's the first step?
The first step is expanding your vocabulary and sentence patterns. If you don't have enough words or common phrases in your mind, your brain will struggle to find the right words, and that causes pauses.
That's so true. And the best way to do this is by learning phrases instead of individual words. For example, instead of memorizing the word opinion, learn the full phrase, in my opinion. That way, when you need to share an opinion, the phrase comes out automatically.
Exactly. And another great technique is active listening. The more you listen to English, the faster your brain will process words and sentence structures. Listen to podcasts, audiobooks, and conversations, and try to predict what the speaker will say next.
I love that. And speaking of prediction, here's a fun exercise: conversation anticipation. When you're listening to someone speak, try to guess their next word or phrase before they finish their sentence. This trains your brain to think ahead and respond quickly.
That's a great trick. And another powerful technique is imitating native speakers. Find a speaker you like, maybe from a TV show or a podcast, and try to copy their way of speaking, including their speed, rhythm, and pronunciation.
Yes! Imitation is one of the fastest ways to train your brain. The more you expose yourself to natural English speech, the faster your brain will process and produce English.
So, to summarize, here are the 4 ways to train your brain for faster speech. 1. Learn phrases instead of single words. 2. Listen actively and predict what's coming next. 3. Practice conversation anticipation. 4. Imitate native speakers to improve speed and fluency.
Great tips! Now that we've trained our brains, let's move on to practical exercises that will help you speak more fluently. Now that we know how to train our brains for faster speech, let's talk about some practical exercises that will help you speak fluently. Julia, what's the first exercise?
One of my favorites is the 1-minute speaking challenge. This is a simple but powerful exercise. Pick a topic and speak about it for 1 full minute without stopping. Even if you make mistakes, keep going.
That's a great one. And you can start with easy topics like my daily routine or my favorite food. If 1 minute is too hard, start with 30 seconds and slowly increase your time.
Exactly. Another great exercise is story retelling. Listen to a short story, a podcast, or even a movie scene, and then try to retell it in your own words. This helps with fluency and vocabulary recall.
I love that exercise. It forces you to think in English and form complete sentences. Here's another one. Speed conversation practice. Set a timer for 2 minutes and have a fast conversation with a friend or even talk to yourself in the mirror.
Yes, the goal is to respond quickly without overthinking. And for those who don't have a speaking partner, you can practice with speech-to-text apps. Just speak into your phone and see how much of it gets transcribed correctly.
That's a great way to check pronunciation and fluency. So, let's summarize the 4 best exercises to improve fluency. 1. The 1-minute speaking challenge. 2. Story retelling in your own words. 3. Speed conversation practice. 4. Using speech-to-text apps for real-time feedback.
These exercises will train your brain to think and speak faster. Now let's talk about mindset shifts to build confidence in speaking English.
Fluency isn't just about techniques and exercises, it's also about mindset. Many learners struggle with speaking because they lack confidence. Julia, what's the first mindset shift that can help?
The first thing to remember is mistakes are part of learning. Many people pause because they're afraid of saying something wrong, but mistakes help you improve, and even native speakers make mistakes.
That's so true. Instead of thinking, what if I make a mistake? Try thinking, every mistake helps me learn. The key is to keep going, even if your sentence isn't perfect.
Exactly. Another mindset shift is focus on communication, not perfection. The goal of speaking is to express ideas, not to sound like a textbook. If people understand you, you're already successful.
Right. And here's one more tip. Speak with confidence, even if you're not 100% sure. If you hesitate or doubt yourself, people will notice. But if you speak with energy and a smile, people will focus on what you're saying, not your small mistakes.
That's such good advice. So, to build confidence, 1. Accept that mistakes help you improve. 2. Focus on communication, not perfection. 3. Speak with confidence and energy.
Exactly! Now, to wrap things up, let's go over everything we learned today and give our listeners a final action plan. Wow, we've covered a lot today. Let's do a quick recap. Why do people pause when speaking?
People pause because they lack vocabulary, overthink, or feel nervous, but we learn techniques to reduce pauses, like practicing common phrases, slowing down, and using fillers naturally.
Right. And we also talked about training your brain for faster speech by listening actively, predicting conversations, and imitating native speakers.
Plus, we shared practical exercises like the 1-minute speaking challenge, story retelling, and speed conversations to improve fluency.
Finally, we discussed mindset shifts. Mistakes help you learn. Communication is more important than perfection, and confidence makes a big difference.
So, here's your challenge. Pick one technique or exercise from today and practice it this week. The more you practice, the more fluent you'll become.
And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more tips on speaking English fluently. Leave a comment below and tell us, what's your biggest challenge when speaking English?
We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.